Hey everyone, today I'm going to be trying out the new Daggerheart races that were originally part of the DLC but are now available to all pro users, and starting off with the Ribbit race. For their class, I got a Paladin, then my two random rolls went with seasons and objects. The random season I got was winter and the random object I got was a bow. I'm choosing to make that like a archery bow. Originally, I was going to do like a fun leaping pose with the bow, but then I thought because I have to incorporate winter in some way, and because frogs hibernate, I wanted it to be very sleepy. So instead of doing an awesome action shot, he's going to be leaning against his bow because he's tired. I'm giving him some warm armor. I really wanted to put a blanket over his head, but with his pose and the flexibility of the parts, it wasn't working. I also considered giving him snow boots. That didn't work either. I gave him a nightcap because he's so sleepy and he's walking out into the cold. Perhaps he was summoned for a quest. Perhaps someone needs his help. He's a good paladin. No matter how tired he is or how cold it is outside, he will come to your aid. This is probably the most adorable mini I've ever made. I put an acorn at the tip of his hat, pine cones on his bow. And now I'm going to build where he lives. He's going to be coming out of this tree. You can't make a hole in something, so I couldn't open up the home that he lives in and show furniture or whatever. So instead I used a portal to seem like maybe he was summoned out of his sleeping, or that he's got some sort of arcane lock on his door that only he can open. I wanted to make his home really cozy, so I gave him all these lanterns and wind chimes. I'm leaning into full cottagecore. Giving him a little bell that you ring to wake him up. And who knows who rang the bell. Maybe it was someone asking for help, but he also looks super confused, like someone rang it and wandered away into the forest. But he's ready anyway. He's equipped, he's got his sword, he's got his bow, he's ready to aid whoever needs it. The one thing I don't like about these other races is it's hard to pose their face. They have very limited options compared to like a human. I wanted to give him a sleepier expression, sag his eyes a little bit, but unfortunately you can't really do anything except for maybe furrow their eyebrows or make them smile. He's so cute though, I love his outfit. Too bad I'm gonna cover it in snow. I'm making that portal very, very dark so you can hardly see it. And frosting everything, essentially. I love a light source, that makes sense. I adore this fella. I'm so glad I went with the sleepy frog and not him leaping around. Maybe I'll do that another time. So here's my ribbit paladin leaning on his bow, ready to brave the storm. Next up, I'm going to do the fun girl race. They're going to be a rogue, and I rolled for a random instrument, which is going to be bongos. Quick disclaimer, I rolled another thing, and then I realized that I was looking at my old sheet for the number 18, which is now weather. On my old sheet, it was planes, as in planes of existence, and I got the negative energy plane. This is why I changed it, because that's really complicated and hard to show, but I did it successfully for this, but from now on, it will be weather. So long story short, the other random thing I rolled was a plane. I'm going to put this mushroom person in the negative energy plane. It's such a refreshing batch of new parts. They did a really good job with these, and I'm glad that they're available to pro users. Thank you. This rogue is going to be a survivor. She is living in a dark place. I honestly don't know much about it, but she has to find a way to survive, and my take is that these bongos ward off licks, vampires, undead, wraiths, and other negative, terrifying creatures that live in the plane or come to visit the plane. And that's how she's survived, is with these bongos. But I'm also going to give a nod to where she is in the plane by incorporating skulls and bones and so on. So I incorporated the rib cages as part of her boot, skeletal wings as part of her chest piece. I like that I had to lift her arm up to get the bongos where I wanted them. I wanted to give her a chain necklace, but I changed my mind and preferred to sort of tie them into her hat or her mushroom hair, whatever it is. Sort of like earrings. And then for the plane, I added smoke for like a creepy smoke effect. This is why I change it from plains to weather, because the plains are just really abstract and confusing. And weather, obviously, I can take inspiration for clothing and lighting. I'm going with a cool and dark color palette, but I'm going to add a lot of glowing effects. It was hard to not have such a limited color palette, but every time I sort of stepped out of the range, it didn't really work or it clashed. So again, I'm sticking with just these purple and black and blues with a little bit of red around her. And there's the rogue fungrel creeping through the negative energy plane with her magical bongos. I don't know why that's such a tongue twister for me. I think it's a little hard to make out all the details just because she's in this dark space, but it tells a story and I like a lot about it. And last up we got the simia, or the monkey/ape race. They're going to be a bard. The random rolls are for shapes and monsters. Shapes was super straightforward. I got a circle, but I couldn't find a monster generator that I liked, so I went with this one that gave me a few options, and then I picked the one that I liked the most, and that was a phase spider. I didn't have to randomly pick his instrument, but I'm glad I did, because I got a slide whistle. So I'm making that first using just a flute and a trombone. I'm sorry if you don't like spiders. This is very spider focused and it's a big spider, and I'm going to be zooming in on it frequently. But believe me, it's worth it. I think it turned out really awesome. I didn't know what I wanted from him for a while, but ultimately I would like to think he's more of a playful yet wise character. Already this is super funny to me. I'm shrinking him down to give the spider more of an intimidating size without it overcrowding the stage. And I'm incorporating circles by adding a few to his belt. And also giving him a circular shield and circular potion bottles and a circular flask and a spherical magical effect in between him and his foe, ? I don't know. Alright, this looks pretty phallic, and also it's gross and choppy and all over the place because I'm trying to make a web out of leopard tails that I had to kitbash and shrink down super tiny, super thin, and connect it to the legs, and it was very difficult, so I really sped this process up, and it looks a little rough. This is the first time I've done something so small and thin and intricate. It was really hard to figure out the best way to bend these lines and make them look natural. And for some reason, getting them into place took so long. I'm adding objects like the lightning to cover up the rougher bits. That's a real kitbashing hack. Just add something over it. I gave him a little mohawk if you didn't notice. The face spider was pretty easy to color in, but his palette took a little bit more tweaking. I always put so much effort into making sure the palette works, and then I just completely cover it up with decals and lighting that you can't even really tell what the original color was in the first place. Oh well. As I was coloring in those rings on his side, I thought it would be interesting if each color on that summoned a different kind of spider. So then I put a blue ring next to the magical burst. So maybe he's summoning the spider, or maybe it's used to control the spider. Maybe he's dancing with the spider. Maybe it's kind of like a snake charming but spider charming thing with his slide whistle. I love when I have no idea where something's going to go, and then it ends up being cooler than I thought. It doesn't happen all the time, but this is definitely one of those models. And there's my Simia Bard with his slide whistle, dancing with the face spider. I don't know, I can't decide. Let me know what you think is happening in this scene and what your favorite model was. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you soon.